Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of
Candid
Candid
Cleaning
Cleaning Conversations.
Conversations.
And today I have another very, very special guest for us. I don't want to butcher her name.
I
So
know.
Right?
let everybody know what your name is and the name of your cleaning company, and just give us a backstory of who you are.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Elena Ledoux. I am a founder of Superb Maids. I'm based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and now expanding to 17 other cities. I'm originally an immigrant from Uzbekistan. I was born in Soviet Union, and I moved to US about 25 years ago, and I went to law school. Worked as a lawyer, defense attorney for companies and insurance companies, and then took a break, chill pill, and then I started a cleaning company, and yeah, and then now I run multiple companies and scaling them.
Wow.
Now, see, I didn't know that.
Right.
So yeah, we got some questions for
Look,
you.
everything is like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
what made you go from, being a lawyer in the insurance world onto owning your own cleaning company?
Right.
Like, these are two totally different industries. Like, what
Absolutely.
what made you want to make that transaction?
Well, it wasn't voluntarily entirely. I love being a lawyer because you take a chaos. Lawyers are kind of like cleaning ladies because we take chaos and make it into like something streamlined, and that makes sense. But there's not a lot of freedom in that profession. You're constantly on call, and you can't just take off somewhere, go to Argentina or anything like that, or to Europe. So after I had my second son, I took some sabbatical with my family. We lived in Europe for a couple of years. My husband even brought my parents, and I just was just mom, and for the first time in my life, just not doing anything. And after we came back to US, my best childhood friend from Uzbekistan, she won green card lottery. So she says like, dude, get me a job and an apartment. And I'm like, dude, you don't speak any English, and you don't have a car, you don't drive a car, you don't have any experience. How am I supposed to find you a job? So I found an apartment though, but for the job, I just thought of like, what are we gonna do? Uh, you know, because literally she's an architect that speaks Russian, right? Has never
Wow.
been in the US, so you've never been outside of her hometown. So it's like a different planet. So I at that time I was watching, I saw this Reddit post by Rohan Gilks. He's Made in Black out of DC. He's like I don't know if you guys know him, Rohan. He's like a
I've never heard of them.
very elusive, but he's like a legend. He said he was on the he didn't say he was actually on the Times Magazine 100 most influential African Americans with Beyonce. So look him up. Yeah.
Wow.
He's fairly young guy. He's a founder of Launch 27. Uh,
Oh,
and the software CRM, but he also has a large maid service. So anyways, this guy who was an accountant, right, in his past career, and then after mortgage crisis, he got wiped out and fired or something like that, or laid off. And he starts the cleaning company. And so he describes his journey in a Reddit post. It's called, he actually created a subreddit called Entrepreneurship Ride Along. And so that's actually pretty famous. That like literally hundreds of companies started by reading the post, because he did like step by step. I did this and then that. I ran the ads. So I'm reading this, and it's like instruction, like a blueprint how to start a cleaning business. I'm like, this is so simple. I cannot see why it wouldn't work. So we just started based on that Reddit thread. And then we just sky was the limit. The first year we won Best of Las Vegas. And
Wow.
uh, yeah, and then 2019 we won SBA Small Business of the Year for State of Nevada. We won Super Service Awards, all kinds of community impact awards every year, pretty
Wow.
much.
That's pretty amazing. Just transitioning from one country to another.
Yeah.
I must commend you for doing that, because a lot of people wouldn't take that leap of faith to even think, well, I'm just gonna start a new industry. Just with you switching over to the cleaning industry, I noticed that you did state that you had to transition over to America, and you are a mother. So how was that? How were you able to balance, your work life and still being a mom?
I wasn't. I basically ditched my kids, so that's the truth of it.
That's a good answer. Yeah, sounds like me. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So you gotta let us know what the secret sauce is to your scaling. Did you have a coach to coach you through all the pain points in the beginning point part? Or like, I don't know, what did you do
Right.
to like scale so fast? It sounds like you had a really fast scaling, like your first year was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do to make that happen?
So I didn't have a coach. I wish I did. I'm a coach myself now. I've been doing it for a few years, but and if I did have a coach, I would have scaled even faster. But I
Mm-hmm.
think at the time, you know how there's a saying that the bunny outruns the rabbit outruns the fox because fox runs for food and bunny runs for his life. So if you have like the friend who needs to survive with her whole family, 2 kids and a husband, you kind of start doing a little bit more. You don't give up because there's no room to fall back to, there's no like, she didn't have anything. So she literally moved with nothing. So I think that's probably part of like we had a really strong why.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably hustled and worked harder for her than I would for myself. So I think that's probably, something that was contributive to that. She's a really hard worker. Her husband helped us as well. We had another partner. There's like 4 of us. So 4 of us really hardworking immigrants that had like a lot to lose, right? And so everything to gain. It's just perfect condition. And we made so many mistakes, literally every single mistake. Uh, you
Let's
know.
talk about those mistakes.
Yeah,
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, look, yeah.
The pain points. Let's
Yeah.
go over some of the mistakes. I know my mistakes in the beginning were not knowing how to price correctly.
Yeah.
I was paying people either too little or too much money. And the company wasn't getting enough profit in.
Mhm.
So that was one of my biggest mistakes. What about you?
Oh, definitely those. But also in addition to that, hiring was a terror. Like we took a long time to figure out how to hire correctly, how to retain employees correctly, how to treat them well, so all of that. By well, I mean not too, coddle them too much, not too little, not too much, It's like a Goldilocks in our industry where they're enjoy working for you, but they don't get too complacent. Hold them accountable. So I'm still working on that one. So, but yeah.
Oh,
How was your trust with people? Like just being able to trust them to do the work? Because I know that's a huge thing
yeah.
when starting a business, like your trust.
Yeah, I trust everybody, but only one time, right? So that's my motto. But in
Mhm.
terms of like cleaning, trusting, meaning like you delegate, you don't just try to do it everything yourself.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, actually, honestly, the key is hiring well, in hiring not for skills, but for character. And to
Right.
give you an example, do you guys have kids as well?
Yeah.
Yep. I
Yeah,
have
five, perfect. So do you know how when they're like 2 years old, like they have certain character and
Mhm.
it's just baked in after that? There's not a lot you can do even as a mom to change that, right?
right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You said the same thing. So there's some people who are born and raised to be super diligent. They're just detail oriented, responsible, so the kind of kid that'll be like, Mommy, take this blanket and here's my schedule, like, and I did my homework. That kind of kid, we hire those kids when they grow up, right? And
Mhm.
then no matter what you do to them, they're gonna do a good job. You can like delegate to them. And then conversely, if you take a kid who, let's say, grew up and worked in the cleaning industry for years, even had their own company or not, kind of like a wild character, the free spirit, right? Which is a lot of entrepreneurs are free spirits, but let's say they failed and they decided just come work for us for another company.
Mhm.
Um, if their personality trait is very erratic, Like
Mhm.
today is a holiday for them, and tomorrow is a good day. And then 3 days from now, they're going vacation to Disneyland in the middle of the workday.
Mhm.
That would not be a great employee, you know. They could be a great person, but not a great fit. So I wouldn't hire that person. I wouldn't give them that chance. That's
Wow.
what
Oh,
I love
good
it. I love
characteristics.
it.
I
I
see
love
that. I see that. And then I take it like it's really, really hard to have hard conversations with the employees. Do you, I'm just assuming you got employees, right?
Yes, I have lots. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, all right. How
wow.
many
Over
employees?
100 employees, because between my different companies. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you hire contractors at all?
No.
Not at all. Okay. And you specialize in just maid service, right?
Well, I have a maid service for the cleaning company. I also have a much larger company that has security screens, like home security.
Mhm.
It's a construction industry, so that's like different profile of employee, like guys, construction workers, essentially, engineers. So it's
Mhm.
Mm,
different. And I have my consulting company and coaching, and I have CPA firm and carpet cleaning firm.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
that's
yeah.
pretty good. Pretty
So,
good.
so let me ask you this question. So, how did you know, wow, my cleaning business is really making it? Like, I've really done this.
I think when we like earn like when our revenue crossed $1 million, then we're like, ooh, this is like for real. We really
Always believe that first million. I know
yeah,
that's
yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you do it? Like, what systems did you have in place? Like, what softwares did you use? And because you got to go back and forth and find the right thing that works for you.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about softwares. Like what softwares can't your cleaning company live without?
Right.
Launch 27 was definitely instrumental. It's
Mhm.
kind of like it's old school, but it's to this day we're always testing all the other softwares, but so far like we haven't found one that's better for us, because we
Okay.
do a lot of one-time cleans, but we also do a lot of recurring. So a lot of maid services softwares, they're like either or. Yeah, most of them are for recurring, and when you're trying to insert one-time cleans, it just breaks everything. And then BK, like booking call, is very similar to Launch 27. I've heard it's quite good too, but I believe it doesn't allow you to like put a credit card on hold the day before, which is
Like the
kind of,
pre-authorization, yeah.
yeah. Does it do that or no?
I think it does do that.
It does
Does
do
do
that.
it now.
Mhm.
Yeah. I can't remember what, there's one feature that my team couldn't like find, because we are gonna switch at some point when launch was going through transition, because
Mhm.
Rohan sold it. But we couldn't find a better one that worked for us. But that was instrumental because we were able to scale, and we actually built a whole business so customers can help themselves. So there's no bottlenecking when it comes to like admin.
Right, right.
Mm.
A lot of our students, they'll come to us and they'll be afraid to use those softwares because they'll say, oh, well, what if someone books and, they say they have a 2-bedroom, the cleaner gets there, it's really a 3-bedroom. They say it's no pets, it's dog galore, hair all over the place.
Right.
Like, I'm sure you experienced this before.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so what type of policies do you have in place for a situation like this? The cleaner gets there, they think they're doing a 2-bedroom, it's a 3-bedroom, doggy hair everywhere. It's
Mhm.
supposed to be a 2-hour clean, looking like it's gonna be like a 5-hour clean. What's the policy for that?
First of all, we're in Vegas, so that kind of stuff happens all the time, unfortunately. But
Oh,
yes. So it's a tough market. But the key to that is communication. So obviously this is gonna happen after it happens first time, then you start thinking, how do I prevent this from happening? What would be a nice way to go about it? So when they're booked, they get confirmation saying like this is not a guaranteed spot, right? So our manager will review, our team will review all the details, confirm scope of work. And the way to put it is not to say like, I think you cheating me, right? It's more like, so for us to do a fantastic job, like we want to do, we have to allocate correct number of cleaners and resources, right? Hours. So if you tell me it's like a 1-bedroom home, in reality it's 4-bedroom home, and it's ginormous, and you're saying like it's clean, but it's actually, full of pet hair and just looks like World War III happened in your home.
Mhm.
We can still help you most likely, but we're gonna need a lot more time, people, and money and chemicals, like everything, right? So we kind of explain to clients that way in disclaimers that go out as soon as they book. And then we do review every single job. We look like our managers, they look at the on Zillow, they look on like Google, basically see what that is. And then if anything is, and then they confirm, if everything is correct, they check, confirm the details. And then if something is off, their ideal client, we just noticed, and they call them, try to clarify what is going on. A lot of times people book move in, move out. They book like a regular clean, but it's actually move in, move out, so that is important because when you notice in the notes, like, yeah, it's a regular clean, but all the shelves will be empty, or I'm trying to sell the house,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like that, or I just bought the house. So we immediately call them. There's certain cues that, or if it says like, my house is really clean, but they also mark they have like 5 cats and 3 pigs living in the house. So
See?
we call them.
You know what I mean? I hope you guys are taking notes because
All
these
the
are
details.
questions that we get all the time. So you
Mhm.
answered that question perfectly. You gotta have your policies in place. Communication is key, okay?
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about pricing. This is another big question that always comes up. Like, do you price by the hour? Are you pricing by the job? Is it a percentage of something? Like, how do you come up with the pricing for all of your residential cleaning?
Let's go.
Yeah, it's actually fairly simple. We have flat rates because clients, we found that it works best for us because you can't do a good job cleaning if clients is like breathing down your neck, like they're like, oh, go faster, like, why are you standing there? So if it's flat rate, it gives them peace of mind, and they leave our cleaners alone and they can clean in peace and do a great job. Um, so for that reason, but we do have a budget internal for the cleaners. Like, this is your budget for this, like we pay by the hour. Actually, we're just trying to switch to performance based pay, but up to this day, for almost like 9 years, we've been paying for per hour.
By
So
the hour.
yeah, but we do have a budget for them. We'll say like you have like 3 hours or 3.5 hours, something like that. So to clean.
So what happens when they go over
The
the
time.
3 hours?
Yeah.
We actually have a policy. So we have that policy with clients and with employees, but essentially is this. If we make a commitment to the flat rate based on average conditions, right? If our employee walks in, if our team walks in and it looks like it's a bit more what I call life activity, right, in the house. So if you have like lots of children, lots of pets, and just everybody. Like right now, I'm in our Vegas. I have 2 homes, but right now I'm in our Vegas home, and it's just me and my youngest son. Right, my oldest son, and our husband, and our 2 cats and a dog are in the farm in Minnesota right now. Right, so Vegas home is very peaceful. There's not a lot. My youngest son, he's one of those responsible children. He's like a little kitty cat. So we don't use the pool, we don't throw towels everywhere. We're just very quiet, very demure, right? So we don't have like lots of stuff going on. So when my whole family's here and the pets, there's a lot of life activity, cooking, cleaning, running around, like exercising, socks everywhere, so chaos. So if you walk in and you find that the family is like very active, there's a lot of life going on, then cleaners, before they start cleaning, they have to message the office on Slack saying like, hey, this is gonna go beyond. I won't be able to finish this in 3.5 hours, right? So then the office reaches out to client and says, and well, they ask like, how much more do you need? And they say like, I need another hour, like 2 hours, or we're gonna need like reserve another day, like depending on how bad it is.
Oh,
And so to
yeah.
the client, we give 3 options. Number one, which they were forewarned before, that's on the terms as well. Number one, you can cancel the clean, no penalty, no nothing. Number two, you can prioritize. We can keep the budget, but you tell us what's the most important part. And so we'll do whatever we can within that budget. Number three, we will clean everything and make it perfect, but you're gonna have to pay extra depending on how much more hours. So it's pretty fair principle and it works.
That
Got
makes
it.
sense. Do
Got
you experience cleaners being dishonest and just maybe dragging, to make more money, because when I started off with employees, I started off with employees, paid them hourly. And the main thing that I experienced was oh, this deep clean's gonna take me 7 hours. And I'm like, girl, I've been cleaning apartments forever. It never took me that long. You know,
Yeah.
so, like, is that something that you experience as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's an issue. So you can have the barriers. It's a human nature. I always tell my partner the reason why we switch into performance-based pay, because I told her you cannot have a compensation system where the slower someone works and the shittier job they do, the more money they make. It's
There
just not,
you
it's
go.
not a line,
There
you know?
you
So
go.
we've been trying to switch multiple times. Honestly, our core of our employees are longtime employees with us and they have pretty solid principles. It's
Good.
really hard for them, you know, like I'm the kind of person, for instance, if I have to cheat or lie or do something like that, you know, my eye will start twitching. Like it's really hard for me to do it. I'm pretty straight. So we
Yeah.
try to hire employees with the same characteristics, but on occasion we'll have somebody who's more kind of a little bit, you know, suspicious, right? And they'll
Mm,
do stuff like that. But that's why we give everybody a budget. If you go severely over, and we know how much you're supposed to. We've cleaned like thousands of homes, right?
thank
So we
you.
know, right? So we give you a budget for a reason. If you go over budget several times, then we're gonna have a conversation, and then we're gonna have a reduction in pay, you know, moving forward. Your
Mm,
hourly rate drops.
that's
There's
good.
consequences, right? You
I
That's
have
love
good.
it.
I
I
like
love
that.
it.
Reduction in pay.
I
That's
love
always my
it.
go-to, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So are you,
look,
I'm
we both
sorry,
want
go
to
ahead,
ask
go ahead.
questions. Like,
I'm sorry,
I love you
so
guys' interaction.
yes, like so my question is because I love the fact how you pay attention to detail and how you take your personal experience of life and incorporate that into your business. But having the background as a business attorney, how what would you say would be like the most, like I would say the 7 legal documents that a LLC should have to protect them and their business?
Well, you should definitely have an LLC or a corp or something that protects you. Don't do it as a solo because things go wrong. Every time you deal with humans, you're guaranteed to have mistakes. So have insurance, obviously, have a non-compete, non-disclosure. Honestly, non-compete is actually kind of the FTC issued some rule. I haven't read it thoroughly yet, but essentially like you can't do non-compete anymore. So
Oh,
but
wow. Not with employees either?
yeah, yeah. I gotta research it, but essentially you can't, or it's like restrictive, right, of people's livelihoods.
Mhm.
So, but it's a good practice if it is allowable in some shape or form. It's a good thing to have. In terms of service is another good thing to have with clients,
Mhm.
limiting your liability. So, like, okay, you know, a lot of things, if we break, of course, we'll replace it, right? We take responsibility for that. And we train extensively on how to avoid those damages for employees. But don't leave something priceless, something that was given to you by your dead brother, you know, years ago when he was in Air Force. It's a custom issue airplane. Like I had to buy one from France on eBay, you know, when we accidentally broke it. So
Wow.
it's when it's priceless, don't leave it out. So we have that in the terms now, right?
What do you
Antique or one of a kind.
Right. What do you think about because I don't know if it's important or not, but the release agreement. Let's just say you take pictures of, or of a client's home, or you have a video of the client. Like, do you have to have like a release agreement?
We
Is
have it in terms of service, and when they book, they agree well, this is one of the terms too. So we can use the photos. We obviously don't use anything that identifies clients in any ways.
Mhm.
Uh, but we're pretty strong on marketing, digital marketing. So photos are critical because when people, and also it's critical for even within our day-to-day work. When
Mhm.
clients call us, when we tell them like, oh, you know, it's your home needs a lot more help. And they tell me like, no, 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 it's very clean. It's I can clean myself in 30 minutes. And I was like, no, ma'am, you cannot, right? So I'm looking at it right now. So yeah, so that's the photos are critical to our job.
I love it.
Wow,
I
do
love
you
it.
guys, okay, so we specialize in mainly commercial now.
I know where you're
We
going.
do dib and dab inside of the Airbnb land, and move outs. And we do very little residential, which we actually been thinking about extending it a little bit more. The more and more I talk to, people like yourself, I'm like, yeah, maybe we should, give it a try, get a little more clients in or whatever. But what made you just want to do residential other than doing commercial? And because there are pros and cons with both industries. With commercial, you can scale faster, you can get bigger profits from commercial. However, you will have to wait 30 days most of the time for your money. And that affects your cash flow. Versus in your world, you get paid the same day or maybe the next day. Like your money comes a lot more quicker, right? So I know that's one of the big, huge differences. But what made you just solely want to be a maid cleaner and let that be your industry?
Yeah, so so that's the primary point where I don't like when people don't pay me and I have to pay people, right? So like I don't like the cashless situation.
Yeah.
That's one thing. In fact, there was a business owner from Vegas, and she had a commercial. She cleaned all the hotels, casinos, and she was a coach too. And she reached out to me to partner up to do residential and her business will do it together. And I said, why? And she said, well, I've been coaching all these residential cleaners and I saw their cash and how much money they have in the bank, how much money they make. And I was like blown away by that. So that gave me an idea. So it's true, when you're in commercial, you have to wait for that check. And it's good that if it's like there, it arrives 30 minutes, 30 days on the dot. Sometimes it doesn't, right? So meanwhile, you have to pay the salary to everyone. But the second is, our whole kind of structure is based on excellence. Like we really try to go above and beyond, do an amazing job. And everybody says that, but we actually do that. And the only way that I found out as a lawyer, because I'm very analytical, that causes this is when employees are happy, like they love their job, they're excited about it, right? So, and what makes employees happy if they don't have to drive too far, if they don't have to, if nobody's shouting at them, they work with their best friend, for example, right? Or and also if they don't have to work at night. And my understanding was you have to work like after hours in commercial. And so that way, a lot of our employees are moms, right? So it's like they want to spend time with their kids. They don't want to work at night. So for that reason, we never really shifted into commercial. We do some commercial jobs, but only if it's the same as residential terms, which is we work during normal hours and we get paid right away. So in fact, we have even cleaned for the Property Brothers, that show.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
after renovation. Yeah. And we told they called us and like, do you want to clean post renovation? And we're like, yeah, sure, we'd love to. They're like, but you have to do it after hours. And we're like, no, our employees are not gonna clean after 5 p.m., right? And do it well. Like, and they're like, okay. So they left and then they come back again. They're like, well, okay, we'll find the time where you can do it during the day. Can you get paid like, later or give us a discount or something? I was like, first of all, you guys are the billionaires, right? Not us. So no, you have to pay us.
Right.
Right. So we hold the ground and we did service them and we might even still do it. I'm not sure, but we did service them quite a bit, but on our terms, right?
I
And we did.
love
I
that.
love that. How she says on our terms. A lot of people don't understand that they have the authority, they have power.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other bigger companies, they may say, well, oh, those are smaller companies. But I love, oh my God, like every time you talk, I hear how something in the background of how life is, it's very important. A lot of people don't, some people just start a business just to start a business, but you can definitely tell the reason why you started a business is definitely for your family. And you push that, how you are in your family, you push that into your business.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. So just dealing with business and you being a lawyer, what would you say is, how do you find your clients? Like, how do you find your clients?
That's always the magical question.
Yeah, yeah. In all kinds of ways. Basically, marketing is kind of like testing your theories, right? You have to capture somebody and then attract them, get them, and keep them. Essentially, it's like a hunt, right? So first of
Yeah.
all, you have to figure out who is it that you're hunting for. So
Mhm.
obviously, commercial would be different, but for residential, we have specific client profile that we develop after a while, who's the ideal client, and it's essentially most of them are retired couples, right? Like families. And also we have professionals who are busy professionals. So those are the two broad categories. If you are, and of course we have all kinds like in between, but marketing is targeted towards that avatar. So we have client avatar, and then if you have your theory about who your avatar is, so let's say if you're in Chicago, right, market, mostly they're like younger professionals who are, you know, maybe work in IT or something, and they live in apartments, and it's brick newer apartments, right? In Las Vegas, it's mostly like big homes. It's like stucco. It's like five, 6 bedrooms, pool, you know, all this stuff. That's Vegas. And
Right.
so there's not a lot of apartments that we have. So kind of you realize who that is and where they're living, like what they need. Like, do they have pets? Yes, a lot of our clients have pets, multiple pets. So you kind of take that into consideration. And then you think the next step is like, where is that person hanging out? Like, where are their eyeballs, I say? Like, so is it in the, do they read the newspaper? Do they watch TV? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Slack? Are they on, not Slack, are they on Yelp, right? Are they on like whatever? They're not going to be on TikTok, right? Like, even though I go on TikTok, but you know, I go for entertainment and not excessively. But most of our clients in that age category is going to be on Facebook, you know, so television maybe. So a lot of professionals, kind of like I would say 35 and older would be on Facebook more likely in terms of digital. Google, of course, everybody's on Google. So
Yeah.
then you're like, all right, like this is who I'm hunting for. This is where they're gonna be. And then how do you reach out to them? Well, it's advertising, you know, it's, you know, promotions. I love collaborations with other companies, with other people. It's my favorite way because it's usually costs nothing and it makes everybody feel good. You're helping fellow business owners. So one of our company affiliates, licensees, they're in Denver, and they
Mhm.
just started like literally, I think this year, and they've been going through tremendous growth. Why? Because Alpine Mates, which is one of the top, if not the top company in town, he's a
Mhm.
friend of mine, the owner, and I said, hey, if you don't have, if you don't do like the particular type of jobs, can you send them like to my licensee, to my partner? And he's like, of course. And so I'm watching his numbers kind of like jumping up and up. And I was like, oh my God, I bet you get a ton of referrals. And he's like, yep, we do. We have like 90% close rate in terms of referrals. So I love that.
Wow.
That's
How
very
do you pay your workers? Do you pay them weekly,
Uh,
bi-weekly?
twice a
Bi-
month. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. All right.
that's another
And
benefit.
yeah, I know,
So
right?
the fact that you franchised out to 17, you got like 17 different franchisees,
yeah. Yeah.
huge.
That's nothing to
Like,
sneeze at for
explain
real.
to us how that process even works. You have people that help, kind of like Jan Pro and Mary Maids. Like, how does the whole franchise world work? Like, do you have to have a certificate for it? Like, what was that process even like?
You do. And actually, we don't do franchise, we do licensing, but I might convert it into franchise, kind of a
Mhm.
gray area. But we do licensing because we give our systems, but we don't mandate they use them. We kind of allow them to kind of add their own. Because I'm looking at more like collaboration because to me, different parts in the US has like different planets. And so you can't just like plop everything and it will fit perfectly, right? You have to customize a lot. So for me, it's like a give and take process where here's our systems. This is what worked for us. This is our support. And then you insert like your genius, like your knowledge of local market, and then we fuse those together and kind of like make it grow. So it's actually a lot of work. Everybody approaches me as like, oh, how do you start franchise? I want to do that because they think like, oh, it's easy money, right? I just, record videos and give a manual, and there you go, and then take a lot of money and just sit back. It's a
Uh-uh.
ton of work. In fact, I think you guys would be great at it because you like love helping, obviously, helping other people, when they are struggling with something, like you're gonna actually step in and do something for them. If you're that type of person, then I would recommend that business for you, franchising and licensing, because that's all you're gonna be doing, right? Especially when they start the first year, there's a lot of screaming and crying and pulling out hairs. So you have to be like not only their business coach and supporter, but also kind of like their mom. Like you have to make them feel better and be like, it's gonna be okay, right? It's gonna be fine. Let's like take a breather and do this and do that. But then after they like pass that difficult beginning, then they start thriving and growing. There's nothing that feels better than that. You can see somebody like spreading their wings and flying. It's just amazing. So I love that part, but it's a lot of work. Like we earn every single penny that, people pay us for sure. And we have a whole team.
Oh, that's
I
that's
love
so they
it.
basically just pay you for the licensing,
Mhm.
and then you get a percentage every month off of it. That's just
Yeah, we have royalty. Our licensing fee is $75,000, and then which is, I know it's a lot of money, but and we also pay 5%. We get 5% of revenue. What we do is actually go in and help them set up all the systems, from marketing to operations. We do the hiring initially. Of
Mhm.
course, disclaimer, social media, like everything. We give them the whole package. But the best part is not even that. The best part is when something is not driving, because you know how when you're a cleaner, when you start in a cleaning business, you're so damn busy. You can't like think, you can't zoom out of your business. So we
Right.
track all the statistics from all the offices on a weekly basis, now down to like how many leads they get from where, what's the conversion rate, all these things that business owners should do and larger companies do, but the little guys don't do, and they suffer and they don't grow as fast because of that. So what we do is like we track it, and if we see somebody like really excelling, accelerating, we actually stop and we're like, all right, what's going on here? What's causing this? And we find out, oh, we did this. All right, we like take it, we test it, look at it, package it, and we'll just tell everybody else to do that within our network, right? So it's kind of exponential. Everybody, and imagine if that's multiplied by anything
Right.
from operational to marketing to whatever. And then conversely, if somebody is dipping, we're like, all right, what's happening here? Somebody is like really struggling. Okay, what's the problem? And so I start looking at it like, okay, like it seems like they are not getting enough leads, right? So let's like boost advertising. What's going on? They don't have the money. We spend our own money. Actually, no franchisor will do it for you. We're like, oh, okay, let's run our own ads and like see what happens. And then we run the ads. They have a ton of leads, but still no business. Okay, like what's going on? Okay, their admin is not converting because their conversion rate is 12%, should be 65, right? So, all right, let's put in our own admin. Let's remove that admin. We like troubleshoot until things are working. Like,
Mhm.
oh, like the marketing and admin works, but the production doesn't work because the clients don't stay after the first time. Like
Mhm.
we fly into town, like to Houston, for example, went in and looked at what's going on and talked to the clients, and we troubleshoot that. So now they have like a roster of clients. So we really, really try to make sure like on every step of the way until you can fly for free, like free by yourself, right? Without our assistance. And if they run into the wall, we scrape them off the wall and start again. Let's hire another admin. This one didn't work out. Like, okay, let's start another crew. This is how you do it, right? So it's a ton of work that goes into that.
Wow.
So what would you say the return on investment would be for one of your franchisees when
Yeah,
they
so we have somebody who started about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
They're immigrants. They barely spoke English when they moved. They're in Tampa, and I think they didn't do as high revenue as us. They're doing about 40 to 50 grand a month. But I was talking to them and they renewed for 5 years. They started for like 2 years, and last year they renewed for another five. And I called them the other day. I was like, look, I have people asking to buy existing franchise from me. So do you want to sell yours? He's like, no, I don't want to sell mine. I'm like, well, what about for like $500,000? Do you want to sell yours? And he's like, no. I'm like, what about for 1 million? He's like, no, come back to me in 2028 and we'll talk when that contract is expired, right? So, and I was like, no, it makes me feel like, can you imagine like how good that makes me feel? Like somebody,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I was like, why? And he's like, it's good company. We just went on vacation for a month and it's just running without us, and it's paying
Wow.
all of our bills. Like they got a like entrepreneurship visa based on that. They could get to stay in US. They bought a home. So it's like a foundation of their life here, right? Of everything. He goes to law school now. So it's a different world. And so I think the value is in that, like it creates like a foundation of your life, of your other investments, of your ventures.
Right.
Another thing I could say, it's of course it's what you make of it. We have a partner who had existing company that was already doing 500,000 a year, and then but it was all done wrong, right? Like the systems weren't there, and it was kind of chaos, and she was stressing out. There was no CRM. It's a shit show, right? She's very talented. She's like go-getter. She's like, she knows how to drum a business, she knows how to clean, but nothing in between worked.
Right.
And
Right.
so she was gonna fold the tent. And so she met me, and it was funny because somebody invited me to a business forum for immigrants, and they asked, and she was there as a case study. So she
Mhm.
said, this is my business, help me fix it. And everybody, all the experts who are not even cleaning industry, but from all over, they listen to her and they're like, you got to buy a license from Elena. So, this is gonna tell you. So it was so funny. It was like a commercial for my company. So she did, and she's in New York City, and she it was big. Like, can you imagine like redoing the whole like company? It's a larger company, like all the systems. She didn't want to do it, and she did, and I was like, look, let's just not do it anymore, right? And she's like, no, I'll do it. So eventually, she did it, and the minute she did it, she scored like $75,000 a month client, right? Which is like apartment building. So, and she did such a good job that she is landing, she's going into all the other properties that this company has. So I think having the right systems is very beneficial. Having the
Mhm.
backup, she was freaking out when she got it. She's like, oh my God, I need to hire all these people. I was like, it's okay. Like, this is what we're going to do. We have hiring systems, right? Let's do this, let's do that. So it can definitely pay off for somebody who is a go-getter, right?
Mhm.
Definitely helps a lot. What else we do, like I have a lot of friends and connections throughout our industry and just generally a lot of friends. I'm like pretty good friend, right? So
Mhm.
if you are opening in some other area, chances are I have like connections there. And so I usually start up something like putting people together and for cross referrals, for relationship, for networking, collaboration, and that always pays off as well. Now, if
Oh,
somebody is like really not good at it, they're struggling, we give them support and time. We don't push them. We just kind of like hold them until they grow at their own pace. But when those companies grow, I'm even happier because it's harder for them, right?
So
wow.
are your franchisees paying you the 75 upfront, or is it like taken out of their fee throughout the years, or like
All
what's
upfront,
the upfront?
all upfront.
Elena don't play. I
She
can
don't
tell that
pay.
right
Like,
now.
y'all
Ain't
not in
no
all my
plans,
systems
ain't none of that.
and drip the money to
No,
me.
because you know I
Okay.
No,
got
you
this.
know why it's upfront? Because people ask me, can you find that? And in fact, when I first thought about franchising, a lot of people told me don't do it, right? And they said, because it's a lot of work. People who know better, right? They're like, it's a ton of work, and people are like just not as strong as you are, right? So it's just gonna be really difficult. People hate it. I'm like, I first of all, I love helping people. And second, and I wanted to make it really affordable. I was like, I was very idealistic. I'm like, I'm gonna do like like $15,000 and like I just want to give everybody a chance. And then when I started thinking about it, I was like, okay, it's $15,000. I have a partner. Obviously, I'll give her half. For $7,500, like if I have to basically build somebody's business and be ultimately responsible, I take responsibility for that business, right? I'm not
Mhm.
going to be that excited about it, right? It's not a
Mhm.
lot of resources. And then I started saying like, for what amount am I going to be excited about it?
Excited about it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There
Right.
you go. There
Like,
you go.
So
okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I did
Cause
yeah,
that
that.
so I was
50,
like 50 grand is
that
okay.
ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
first sale, like the one in Tampa, he actually bought it for 50 grand because he was our first. And
Okay.
now he doesn't want to sell it for $1 million, right? So
Mhm.
I think because I have investors too, and they're like, what is that? Like, tell me what the amount is. And his company is legitimately worth a $500,000 right now based on his profit margins and how well it's ran. But he wouldn't sell it for that either. Right? So I think it's a pretty good investment. And after even at that 50 grand, I realized that after I looked at how much work that takes, we raised it to 75, right?
Yeah.
When we have management staff and we have like other like teams just to dedicate it to franchising and like all the support, all the metrics, all the, anytime the innovation, we hear, we test something, we test AI, for example, right? Whenever something works, we test it on ourselves and then we just, like give it immediately to our clients so they can like grow with us.
I
I love
love
it.
it. So I have a three-part question. Is that even possible for me to say that?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I have like a three-part question. So I'm gonna try to separate this as much as I can. So the first question that I wanted to ask is, I love the way that you're very analytical. You pay attention to everything when it comes to your KPIs and your numbers. Like, what are some things that you do to keep up with your numbers? Like, how? Like, what do you do?
Do you mean like how do you gather it or how do you track it or the
How do
whole
you
thing?
track it?
I track it. We try to like one of our principles is simplicity. Simple. If it's too complicated, people get Like, for example, for marketing, it's very hard to track marketing data. Just you just want to pull your hair out, jump out the window,
Yeah.
right? It's so just do the best you can. As long as you have consistent system that track the measures in the same way, like you can at least see the trend. It doesn't have to be like perfect. A lot of people struggle because they want to get like exactly how many leads I got from Yelp and like how many I got.
Right.
It's really hard. Like do the best you can, simplify it. If we're like we just have like a Google sheet and I just have people like fill it out and keep it there. We tried everything from like call rail tracking to like by different phone numbers. We just got very complicated. But the more complicated it is, the harder it is, and it's really hard for me to analyze. So, for example, like you need to figure out what makes your business like what are the pivot points like the ones that make a difference. For instance, for the construction company that I run, what I wanted to know every day is for the next day how much business I was scheduled to produce in installations and how many estimates each salesperson has. So that data is not tracked accurately by anything like that I'm aware of. So it's like a human. There's actually a VA that looks at the calendars and she texts me, she texts me the day before, what it's gonna look like. Because that's what I will not want to know. I know that's how much my money we're gonna make tomorrow. Because each crew
Right.
is supposed to bring in like $10,000. Each salesperson's supposed to have, 3 estimates, right?
Yeah.
So if she says like, oh, Cindy, it's 3, or Jad is 2. So I can like jump in like what happened there, right? But a lot of times I just like it and I move on. But these are the things that metrics are important to me. So one of the mistakes that people make is they track too many metrics, right? So
Right.
too much. You don't really need too much. And another one is that they track it on like a dashboard on your computer, right? So, and sometimes I don't have time to log in. I'm always on the go. I'm doing stuff. So sometimes if there's an automation you can set up that just zaps, like sends a text. For instance, one of the things I love doing is um, when there's a sale, like in construction company, security screens company, one sale could be like $50,000, right? Or like $12,000 or whatever. Average ticket is $12,000. So I want to know when it's happening, and I want everybody in the company to know. So we have automation set up every time the sales happens. It pings like everybody in the Slack channel, and I get a text automatically. Hey, there's a sale.
Okay.
That guy. But we're like, yeah, it's very motivating, right? So I
Yeah.
want to know that number particularly, how much money did I make? So you can set up the number that drives your excitement or that's important to know to perform well. So for cleaning, I don't need to know like how many cleans we'll have tomorrow, right? But if let's say I discovered, because I don't run it directly anymore for years, but if there is a problem, let's say I go in and try to troubleshoot, there's a cleaning company and they're not performing, and I find out that the reason why they're not performing is because their admins don't close enough estimate, don't close leads, right? So I then I'll be like, all right, I need to know how many leads came in today, basically, the number of leads, and how many did you close? Those two numbers I want to know. So you text me at the end of every day how many it was. And so as long as the situation is bad, I want to see that number, or I want the owner of that company actually see that number. So I'll say like you posted into we have like WhatsApp channel. So one of my licensees in security screen licensee, because we're licensing that to have multiple locations. He's an immigrant too, and so he was doing really well in the beginning. I had a chat with him and his crew in like a WhatsApp chat, his admin, his office team, and at some point he removed me. I'm like, oh, that's fine. Like I don't need to be in your hair anyways, right? So, and I was doing, he must be doing even better, right? So I don't care. And then at one point he called me. He's like, I'm really struggling, right? I'm dying. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. There's just no estimates, like no business. I'm not sure. Like it's been really dry. So I was like, okay, well, add me to the damn chat, right? So I he added me back, and I went through all his systems. I have access to everybody's CRM, so I went through all his systems. I'm looking at it. I'm like, listen, you have like 7 like leads sitting in your mailbox. Are you aware of that, right? You're probably not, because you're telling me it's not, nothing is there. And he's like, oh yeah, our admin, she's been fantastic in the beginning, but now she's like is late. Sometimes I have to wake her up. She's a VA in Philippines, right? So sometimes I have to call her. I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, how many times do you have to do it? And he said, well, within the last 6 months, I had to do it about 20 times. And I was like, wait, what did you say? Yeah, so yeah,
Problem.
so exactly. So I'm like, all right, so I made like, I got like so pissed off. So I wrote in their chat, like kind of basically a riot act. I'm like, look, you know, her name is Carmen. Like, Carmen, you have to make sure to respond within like 5 minutes, like most at each lead. I don't care how you do it. If you cannot do it, then we are not going to be able to work together, right? And so
Right.
she writes back like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," you know. And then she writes to my partners like, "Max, if you have to fire me, I understand, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going to fire you, but you're going to have to do that, right?" So, and miraculously, the business is thriving right now, right? Miraculously.
Wow.
You gotta put your foot down.
Yeah.
And
But
that
Yes.
was
she posts
great.
like how many metrics. She posts like how many things she closed every day to this day. And I'm sitting in that chat and I'm watching that.
That was
Yes.
a great point because a lot of
Right.
times as business owners, we're busy. You
Mhm.
know,
Yes.
we've experienced this with VAs as well, as we'll get so busy and then we notice they know that we're busy.
Yeah.
So they start slacking. And then
Yes.
who's there to hold them accountable unless you have an office manager? If you don't have one, then we're supposed to be the ones to hold them accountable. But if we're in the field and we're
Mhm.
running around and we're busy, they may be asleep.
Mhm.
You know, so who's going to hold them accountable? So what we started to do um is create disciplinary actions for the VAs because we had them for the workers, but we didn't have any in place for the VAs for some reason. I don't know. But we decided to just, you know, put some and say, okay, you know what? If you miss a call or if you're missing a sale, like X amount of money is going to come out. We're going to start taking deductions from you guys.
Yes, absolutely. Consequences.
Absolutely.
Consequences. Yeah.
The second part to my question, like this, I could talk to you all day, Elena.
Okay, I love it.
But I know we're definitely gonna respect your time. But the second part to my question is, I know I hear you say partnerships, you know, a lot, you know, being able to partner. But what would you say would be the appropriate agreement, whether it's, because we hear a lot joint agreement, alliance agreement, but what would be the appropriate agreement for something like
For
that?
a partnership.
Yeah, for a partnership. If you're
Well, the way I do mine is, for instance, I open typically there's an actual classic partnership, which is we just create LLC, and there's
Mhm,
operating agreement within that LLC that defines everybody's roles.
mhm,
I'd say the way I choose partners, I mean, choosing the right partner is the key, obviously. It's not in it's not in the agreement because nobody's gonna sue you or not, you're not gonna sue somebody. It's not
mhm,
even worth it, right? So it's like really, and I'm saying that as a lawyer, because you spend more money on a lawyer, legal fees than actual stuff you can win. So
yep.
it's critical to choose the right one. And
Mhm,
how do you choose the right one? Choose the one that you know will value you and your relationship over money. Like they'd rather walk away from the business than harm you. And it
mhm,
should be mutual, like you the same way. So if you have somebody you feel that way about, that that's your principle, we have the proven relationship. Like I knew my partner in the cleaning business since we're six, right? Like I'm 46 now, so it's like 40 years, right? So we have track record, right? So
yeah,
I've got her back, right? And she's got mine, and she'd rather walk away. We both will walk away from business if we have to, rather than like start fighting with each other. So that's the most important thing. And second is have it like think through what are the bad things that might happen, and right, they put like decide what would be a fair thing to do. How do you part? Because a lot of times when people get married, they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna live forever, ever, ever. But chances are they might get divorced, right? So think through what would be a fair thing that happen. Why you still love that person? Like
mhm,
what, how do you split the assets and just put it in writing? I
mhm,
highly recommend everybody, every business owner, male or female, have a post-nuptial or prenuptial agreement about
mhm,
what happened to your assets in the event of you divorce, because that's devastating. That's a partnership. Marriage is a partnership too, right? So it really can wipe you out. So agree, even after you get married, you can still sign something, right? Even if you have a current partner, you can still sign operating agreement or some sort of like contract about what will happen in the event if you disagree. How do you buy each other out? Can you pay in like, can you take a loan? Can you make payments so you're not stuck together if you don't want to be?
Okay, okay.
I love it. I
I
love it.
love it.
That's
Third part question.
Yeah.
Because as Ms. Johnson was talking, it was like bloom, bloom, bloom. I hope I can remember all the questions. So I just put them in my brain, like 3-part question. Lastly, I hear the transition because you state a lot. You love to help people. I can hear that, and I love that because that's like the blood in your veins. That's like the reasoning for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about how you were able to, what is the process like for an immigrant to be able to come from, another country to here? Like, what is that like and how was that for you?
Yeah, so so there's a kind of business and legal part and there's a personal part. So for there's a thing that's called E2
Mhm,
treaty. US, very like that's why I love this country. This is the best country in the world. The US is very smart. It said, hey, if you're a foreign-born entrepreneur from certain friendly countries,
mhm,
and you want to come, your dream is to come to US and open your business here, open a business here, and you want
mhm,
to give us a lot of money for doing that, invest into our economy, come
mhm,
on in. You can come in, and as long as you run that business, you get to stay with your whole family. Your wife can work or husband, your kids can go to school, you can become not like a permanent resident, but you'll be entrepreneur who lives here permanently, right? And runs a business permanent, as long as you have legit, and you have to prove you didn't steal that money, by the way. You have to prove where the money came from, right? Very clever.
mhm,
And it's the amount is not defined, but it's approximately $100,000, right? It's approximately all in. So it's not a lot of money, right? So the rest of the world is dreaming about that. Like the US is kind of like the ultimate holy grail for all entrepreneurs in the world, obviously. Right? This is the best market in the world. So it's very attractive. So that's part of why we're doing the licensing is because we're doing this. We
mhm,
work with lawyers, we work with consultants. And if somebody who is worthy, I say like if somebody who's an American but accidentally was born somewhere else, we get to bring them here. That's my mission in life. And I love that because I was the same way. When I was born in former Soviet Union, I never belonged there. I knew I don't belong there. And I
mhm,
just used to follow the rules, follow the propaganda, obey. I was in like Central Asia. So it's like a Muslim, Soviet, and Korean on top of it. I'm ethnically Korean. So there's a lot of limitations who you are as a woman and what your place in society is. You're
mhm,
basically just a pretty decoration on the couch, right? And that's it. Like you can't really do anything. So I hated that. So I never subscribed to the whole system. I was like, and I even walked up to my mom and when I was little and I said, Mom, you gave birth to me in the wrong place. And she looked at me, she's like, what the hell, right? So so when I had the chance, I met an American guy, he's an entrepreneur, and I married him, my ex-husband, my starter husband, and I moved to US. It was very irresponsible. It could have killed me probably, right? But he didn't, right? So I had to. It was a horrible marriage, but I like it made me who I am today because he started turning on my brain, right? So I have an upgraded husband now, much better, my final husband, but
mhm,
he's also entrepreneur, also an American. But I think that journey is really hard. It's like really, really hard. That's why I have a lot of compassion for my partners. I know how hard it is. You're disoriented. You don't like you think things, but you can't express them sometimes because of the language barrier. I was such a country bumpkin because that I remember I walked into in Seattle International Airport where I landed. I wanted to go to the bathroom. So I
mhm,
walk up to the bathroom and there's no door handle on the door, right? It's just a door. And if you think about it, like this is only in America, there's a door and there's like a metal plate and no handle. You just push it with your body. Like
right.
up until that moment of my life, every door I've seen in my life has a handle. So
Mhm.
I looked at the door and I was like, I waved, I walked back and forth. I jumped up and
Wow.
I had to go
What?
get my husband to walk up. It's like, how do you open this door? He's like, oh, you just push. And it just never occurred to me to push, right? So it's really dumb. Or I went to Costco and you know the straw dispenser in the food
Right,
court.
right.
I've never seen one. So I'm standing there looking at Can you imagine if you've never seen a straw dispenser? Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh. And then it'll be vice versa if we came to your country. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we'll be like, okay, how does this work? Or what is
Yes.
that? Or that's so cool. That's
I'm
different.
sorry. I just had to ask because everything that you're stating It's very inspirational, just
Yeah.
your story and everything that you're stating. It makes me want to go to your country and be like, you know what? We need more. We need more. We need more. Just with everything that you're stating, thank you for even taking that leap of faith for coming, to the States and starting your company. And out of all places, Vegas. What made you to Vegas?
Yeah, my cheap acidness. So when we when, I'm a cheap woman, right? So when I had my second kid and we decided to live in Europe for a while, because that was my dream, is to live in Europe. And it was very cheap, by the way, compared to US. We lived in France, we lived in Spain, Ireland. So for 2 years, we were just like, I was not doing anything. We just lived there. And then when it was time to come back to US,
Mhm.
we didn't have, because we used to live in Hawaii. That's another whole different story. So we sold everything, moved to Europe. And then while we're in Europe, there was a crisis, for real estate crisis in the US. I think it was 2012, I want to say. So basically, like all the properties, Vegas, Phoenix, Miami, and Detroit were basically bleeding, right? They were giving properties away. It was so cheap. And I don't know if you remember that now, but it's super cheap. You could have bought like 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment in central part of Vegas, nice area for 50 grand cash.
Excuse me?
Dang.
50,000. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and same for Phoenix, same for Detroit. Detroit is even cheaper, and same for Miami, right? So I told I'm sitting in Spain, I'm looking at my husband. I was like, you got to go back to the US and buy everything you see, like in those 4 cities. He's like, I don't want to go. Like, I want to live in Vegas. The guy lives in like San Diego, Hawaii. He's like, I am not going to like Detroit. I'm not going to Vegas. I hate Miami. I hate Phoenix. Like, he's like, no. I'm like, okay, you have to go and don't come back until you buy something, right? So he went back, he went to US and he went to Vegas and he looked around. And Vegas is not just the strip. It has like all these nicer areas too. It has the nature, has like wild donkeys outside of Vegas, there's red rocks. So he loved it and he looked at the properties. So they were really cheap. So he bought a bunch of properties there. Because remember, we cashed out from Hawaii and sitting in Europe where it's very cheap. So we had the money to do it. So we bought it. And we bought it as investment. We're just renting it out. And when it was time to come back to US, I'm like, why don't we just live in Vegas? Because that's where our properties are. And I just regret that we didn't buy also in Detroit and at least Detroit. I have my best friend lives there. Like it would have been so cool. I see how much it appreciated.
Mhm.
So that's how we ended up there.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because
Yeah.
we don't want to take no more of your time because we can be
Yes.
here forever. I tell
And
you.
surely will
We
be
will
here
drill you forever. But let's get in the wrap this up. Let everybody know where they can find you at. And you guys, she is a business coach, a cleaning business coach. Okay. So tell them a little bit about your program.
Yeah, so you can find me on I have a handle of Millionaire Cleaners on Instagram, right? So you can find me there. That's primary. Or just if you can't find me online in some you probably shouldn't be coached by me. So I cannot help you, right? So but the way look at my name like Elena Ledoux, right? The way I ended up coaching is my friends, how do I meet them? Podcaster. Josh Latimer, he's a home service industry guru. So I listened to his podcast. I loved it. I wrote to him. We became friends. And so when he was in Vegas, I came out and he was starting coaching program with his Brandon Vaughn, his friend. So they're like, Lena, you got to join. I'm like, no, I don't like want to be a coach. Like it's terrible. Like, why would I want to be a coach? And she's like, oh, you'll be amazing at it, right? You should do it. And so I was never a coach before that, but I was helping people before that. And so when they had me join their organization, it's called Conquer, I was very scared that I'm gonna suck, right? So I downloaded they have all the recorded sessions for all the other coaches or professional coaches, and I watched them. We're flying to Paris, first class. I was like, all my family's sleeping, and I'm on like in this recliner watching all the coaching sessions, and I took notes. Like this was great, this sucked, right? And at the end of the flight, which was a very long flight, I knew how I want to coach. And I was voted their top coach the first year I was coaching, right? So I was doing it for a while, but I think last year early this year, I was like, I'm gonna just do it on my own now, not through that program. I still have relationship with them, still officially a coach there, but I don't coach through them anymore. I just coach with my own clients. So I give the people access to my systems, and I have weekly calls, kind of troubleshooting the businesses. I love it. Like I coach multiple 7-figure companies. Actually, from 6 to 7 figures companies, I should say. Um,
Right.
I like that, right? But not just
Right.
from cleaning, but from all other home industries, from like turf, artificial turf to window cleanings to, but of course, cleaning is my main thing, right?
I love it.
I do too. Y'all give it up for Miss Elena.
Thank you so much. It's so fun.
Like,
Right.
wow,
And you have a
congratulations.
YouTube channel as well, right?
I do, yeah. I have one in Russian. I have one in English. So yeah, if you look by my name, you'll see I give a lot of advice because a lot of times I'm a systems person. So if people ask me the same thing over and over, I'll just record a video and just post it there. I have content team.
There you
That's
go, you guys. So make sure you guys check her out. She has been dropping a lot of gems on this episode, and check her out on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Like definitely a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate you for being on this show. And like,
Thanks for
Uh,
having
I,
I love you guys' interaction.
love to have you back.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are a pleasure as well. Like, I don't know what it is about you, Elena. Your spirit. It's just
Yes.
something about you. You
Yes.
can definitely tell you carry this ambience presence. You know what I mean? And it's like exuding through the
Do
little
the camera.
yes. Like
Yeah.
it's like I listen, if you ever come to Georgia, you want to come to Savannah, if you want us to come up there to Vegas, let us know so we
Yeah,
can sit
you're
down,
welcome.
have some tea, whatever it is.
Anytime. Yeah. And actually, Savannah, I've heard so many great things about how beautiful it is. So I made a mental note to visit it.
Okay, well, let
Awesome.
us know.
Yes, yes. We plan on coming back to Vegas soon.
Very
We
so.
did the conference last year
Yeah,
in
the Artsy.
really, I really wish you were a part of that because
Yes.
that was amazing. We would have loved to have you as a guest at the conference. That would have been dope.
Yes.
That would have been dope.
We
Okay.
need
I used to be, and I was even on their like educational committee. Then I
to.
got too busy. I think I'll go this year, so I might see you in November, right? It's November something. I'll be
Yeah,
in.
yeah. All right.
Let's go.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for
Of
being a
course, it
guest
was a
on the show.
pleasure.
And hopefully we could do this again. Maybe next year we can catch up. Maybe you'll be at 25 leases
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah, I think so.
All
Yeah.
righty.
All
All right.
right. Pleasure, ladies. Very nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.